Hello all, welcome to oratrainings.com. In this session, we'll discuss about invoking a BIP report from OIC and provide the response of BIP report as an XML output in the OIC. So let's get into the agenda. And the prerequisite is we require in a Fusion ERP instance and where we have an access to BIP report. And the components required for us to design the integration is we will be designing a REST trigger connection, which will be the triggering point for our integration. And we need to create a SOAP trigger connection, like as we want to invoke the BIP report, right? So we require a SOAP connection for the BIP report. And we'll be designing our integration type application. The input parameter is the party number, which is required for the BIP report. And the output parameter we're expecting that will be generating the XML response as shown in the screenshot here. So now, this is a BIP report we're expecting. And whenever we design any BIP report, for the OIC to invoke the BIP report, what it requires is what is your Fusion ERP server, as well as what is the path of your report. So in our session today, like I'm considering the report path is this one, like custom/oratrainings/party data report.xdo. This is a path value which will be considering in our BIP, in our OIC while invoking the report. And now the first connection what we require is the REST connection, and the role type is triggered, and the authentication is basic authentication or WAT 2.0, and that's it. And coming to the BIP report connection, as I said you, this BIP report connection is based on the Fusion ERP server. So while creating a connection, you select the connection type of SOAP, mention the connection name, and in the properties, you provide the URL of the external report service of Fusion ERP and provide the Fusion ERP credentials, like a basic authentication, have the security type I'm going with a basic authentication and the username password. And if at all, if you have access to different security policies, still you can provide that. But the web service which you are using is the external report web service, which is a SOAP web service. And then this is how the integration will look like once we finish our integration. The first component is a trigger invoke, like a REST trigger invocation. And then next one is we'll be assigning the variable value with the report path. And the next one is we'll be invoking our BIP report. So here you can observe the invoke BIP report SOAP web service. And for this invoke activity, we have to map a couple of variables like the report path, the output type, and the input parameters. I mean, the input variable name as well as value. And then once we get the response from the invoke activity of BIP report, that will be mapping to the stage file as opaque element. And then this opaque stage file will be converted into XML file. And then finally, we'll be displaying that output in our response. This is what we want to achieve in our demo today. Now, like I'm providing, this is a final look and feel when you run the integration. Provide the input parameter like party number, and then we should be able to get the response like this in XML payload. Okay, so now we'll just go to our integration. And before that, let me show you the BIP report also, which we'll be considering as part of this particular session. So this is a BIP report. So let me rerun. It requires a party number as an input. I'll just provide value as 3. And you can observe here when I generate the data, like export data, it will provide us an XML output. So this is what the XML output looks like. So I'll just try with a pretty print. Yeah, this is how it looks like. Now, so the web service which we'll be using as part of this particular integration is, like, let me show you this one. This is the integration. This is a WSDL. And here I'm just trying to validate the same web service via SOAP, by SOAP UI. And you can observe here, this is the WSDL. And the operation which we are using is a run report operation. And in this one, we just require only 3 parameters to observe carefully, or 4 parameters. The first one is attribute format, which is of XML. And here, this is an array wherein we are providing the variable names. And the first one is pub name, right? This is my variable name or a parameter name. And this is a parameter value. And the report absolute path, this is the value of the XDO path of the report, right? And then appropriate credentials I have to provide. Once we run the report, and we'll be getting the response in the element called report bytes. This report bytes is an output format of base 64. Okay. So now we are expecting that when you run the report, we'll be getting the data in the base64 format, and then that should be converted to XML, and then we'll display the response in the output. So let's go back to the integration. So we'll just start our integration now. So click on create integration, or let me show the connection first. I'll go to connection. This is the first connection we require, REST connection OT, which is a REST trigger activity. Very simple one. Role is trigger and security is just a default one. No username credentials. This is our REST connection. And similarly, observe the next one, the SOAP connection, which is based on the Fusion ERP. SOAP BIP, I guess. Yeah. SOAP BIP repo connection. And this is based on external report web service. And this one, which I highlighted, is the Fusion ERP, Fusion ERP URL. And then /XMLP server, and the remaining thing is the SOAP WSDL. And we are going with a basic authentication. Of course, it provides a lot number of other security policies, but we are going with a basic authentication. These are the two connections which we'll be using in our demo today. Okay. Now just click on integration, create application. I'll just mention the name like this: XXOR Invoke BIP report integration test. The first one, as we know, we require the REST connection OT trigger, Invoke BIP report trigger, and we require input as well as output variables both. So I'll just configure input as well as output, and I'll just go with the endpoint resource URL / and what we require, I'll just provide IP input parameter, party underscore number, data type will just go with string. Now comes the interesting part. The output I want to go with XML sample, and here I'll just provide XML. Okay, and I'll just drag and drop that XML that is available in the party data report output.xml. Party data report output.xml. That is my XML output, which I am expecting from this response. So the configuration is done for the trigger. Next one is invocation of BIP report. So before that, as I said we require an assignment variable for the report path. So I'll just go with action, assign. Variable underscore report underscore path. And here, what is the path name? So here, if you're aware, you can just click, I'll just click on schedule. Once I click on schedule, I'll get a path. So this is the path name I have to consider. I'll just show here, this is the path. This is our path. Next one is, we require the SOAP connection, right? The SOAP BIP report connection. Invoke BIP using SOAP. And here we require a method called run report, the operation called run report. Continue. So go with the default. Once you finish, it will generate a invoke mapping. This is where the very important one, where we have to configure a lot number of things. So for now, I'll just click on save. Edit the mapping activity of the invoke BIP report using SOAP. Click on edit. So here, To understand this mapping easily, the best way is like once you run the report via SOAP UI, you'll understand all the variable names one by one. So you can just map them appropriately. The first one is attribute format that will be available under the report request. So if you just expand this one, attribute format, you can observe here. So I'll just right click here, click on target node and go with the developer view and just simply set it as XML. This is the first setting we have done. And now parameter name values. So we require one parameter name value. So scroll down here, parameter name values, and under the item array. So as a report may have a number of parameters, right? That's the reason it is having an array, item array, and under the item array, so you should be seeing one more thing called name. Under the item array, and this is our parameter name, which we have to pass it for this particular SOAP payload. Parameter name value, item and name, parameter value, item and name. And here, click on create target node, go with the developer view, set by default. Now, click on OK. Next one is values. So in the values, click on item, create target node, values, item, target node. And this one we are getting as an input, right? In the query parameter, just drag and drop that input parameter here. And now the next very important properties, size of data chunk size, will just generally go with -1. Next one is the report absolute path. This is the one. The report absolute path, the one which we got it from here, right? This is the one. The report absolute path that we already got it from our one of the temporary variable, right? You can simply consider that here, variable report absolute path. So most of the settings were done here. Okay. Now click on validate. Save it. So the invoke activity is almost done. Next one is whatever the response which you get from the Invoke BIP report using SOAP, that will be in a base64 format. Using stage file read, we will read the content. Okay, we'll just read the content and then you can observe here what are the mapping we have to do it for next one. So once you get the output, right? So you need to write that output to the stage file and then you have to read it. So next activity, what we have to design is stage file, write output to the stage. So you got a response that you have to write output file to a staging area. And after that, you can read it. So I'll just go with action, stage file, write output to stage. And here, and what we want to do, we want to write file. The file name will be report.xml. We'll just go with and here I'll just go with slash output. Okay. And now it will ask you the schema. So I'll just go with the XML schema XSD document and then click on continue. You just drag and drop the opaque schema. I'll show you the content of that. Opaque schema, continue and finish. So what is the content of this opaque? So opaque is like, you don't want to consider what is the mapping inside, just get the bulk entity, bulk content, simple. Just go with opaque schema, the standard schema, which is followed by most of the scenarios. And as you can observe here carefully, the output format it is expecting is a base64 binary. So the input, what you receive to the stage file is a base64 input, right? Click on edit. So here, this opaque element, the Invoke BIP report response. As I said you, the output of BIP report will be available in which particular column? It will be available in the response element of BIP report, which is nothing but report bytes. So this report bytes element should be mapped to the opaque element, which is having the, so Invoke BIP report using this one. Report bytes should be mapped to the opaque element of our stage file activity. Validate. So now our stage file is having data. Once it is having data, the next one is we want to read the content. You have the file available in the staging area. Now just read the content. Just click on the plus symbol. And now the next activity, stage file, read. The operation, what you want to do is read file. And here you just go with the read entire file. So we can simply go with the reference rather than mentioning all the properties. Simply you can go with the reference. And from where you want to get the reference will be from the write output stage response. So in the write output stage response, this is a write response activity of the stage. And here just simply go with the ICS file reference. This is a reference file. Now click on continue. And now it is asking what is the format you're expecting from that particular stage file response, right? So I'm expecting a sample XML document. And this is exactly same as what we will be showing the output. So I'll just go with that. Same thing, party data report output XML. Next, finish. So once you receive the file from stage file, the final one, what you want to do is you want to set this output to your trigger activity output. So I'll just click here, click on plus symbol, action, assign. So once you click on assign, it will ask you whether you want to not assign. We'll just go with the mapping activity because we want to set the multiple values, right? So I'll just delete this. Next one we want to go with is a mapping. Save it first. Click on plus symbol, go with the mapping here. Create a mapping for the trigger activity, the initial trigger activity. Click on create. Now map the output variable of your trigger activity with a stage file response, stage file read file response. Read file response, you can observe here. And it should have the same XML elements what you're expecting, because we have considered mapping as same thing which we are expecting in the output. So it has the same thing. You can just expand data DS, G1, and just set the appropriate values, party ID, party number, party name, party type, party, whichever you get, you can just set them, validate. Now click on back. And there is a final setting you have to do it, the primary business identifier. The input parameter which you are getting, that you can set it as primary business identifier. Query parameter. Now it is ready for activation because the state has got changed to configured. It means that there is no pending validation errors. So click on activate. Now let's try. So I have the report with a list of valid party numbers. So I'll just go with one of them, like maybe this person, 2031. Let's see what does we get. Run it. Perfect. So we are getting the data of this person, and we can try for another person also. Nico 2039. 2039. Let's run it. Right. So we are able to get the output. Okay. So this is how we can invoke a BIP report from the Fusion via OIC. Right. Thank you.